So my name is Rebecca Rogers. I am the co-founder of Focus on America, your debate host for this evening. Focus on America is a grassroots organization that is inspired by our forefathers and implements these timeless principles by fostering informed voters who value candidates who will restore our God-given, constitutionally guaranteed liberties. First, let's take a couple of housekeeping items. Everyone show me your phone. Okay, now, if you don't know how to use your silent button, please ask your neighbor and leave it off for the duration of the evening. Otherwise, you will have to come onto the stage and answer all the questions. Also, housekeeping, restrooms, if you don't know where they're at, they're over to the other side of the kitchen. We have water available in here over at the table. And we want to make sure that if you have small children, or your husband or wife gets a little bit unruly and gets tired of politics, that you take them out into the lobby until they calm down. Then they can re-enter the room. Please remember that we are told to love God and love our neighbors, so we want to be very respectful in what we say and do, and refrain from anything other than applauding for you or whatever candidate you agree with. We're pleased to have 6 candidates here this evening, and we hope this debate helps you further understand who these candidates are and helps you make an informed decision at the primaries on May 24th. Before we get started, I would like to thank all of our sponsors outside in the lobby. Buck Clemens, State Representative, District 25. Paul Sanford, U.S. House of Representative, District 5. Rex Davis, Superintendent, District 8. Zaris Realty, Manja Italian Restaurant, Reclaim Alabama Education, North Alabama Firearms Training, Huntsville Allergy Relief Center, Thermal Imaging Center, Concerned Doctors, and also I'd like to thank Black Patch Distilling Company here in Madison. They have allowed Focus on America to meet mask-free, no social distancing for the past 2 years, when no other people wouldn't. So be sure and give a big round of applause to Black Patch Distilling. I'd also like to thank 1819 News, our local Huntsville television stations, WHNT, WAFF, WAAY, and several of our independent media journalists who are here today. I would like to take a moment to recognize our active military veterans and first responders. So if that's you, please stand. I know there's some in here. Thank you. You may be seated. We want to thank you for fighting for our freedoms and for our protection. We're excited to have a very special celebrity moderator with us. Who are you pointing at?
Man.
And you know, he just happens to have some experience in Montgomery. So this is Mr. Scott Beeson of the Scott Beeson Radio Show. And for those that aren't already aware, introduce yourself and tell them how celebrity you are.
Right. I wish my wife was here so she could realize I was an important celebrity. Oh yeah, I'm sure she's watching. But yes, my name is Scott Beeson, and I currently have the Scott Beeson radio program, which covers Metro Birmingham area. But if you want to listen to it, you can listen on scottbeesonradio.com, and it streams all throughout the world. We even had callers from South America from time to time. So you can check us out there. And I want to thank Focus on America for inviting me to be one of the moderators tonight. And then I also want to thank, and also I do a podcast at 1819 News, which is called Alabama Unfiltered. We talk about Alabama issues from a kind of a perspective that might be a little bit, touchy for some people at times, but I think it's very entertaining, so check that out as well. But I want to thank you for being a part of this, for being willing to come and listen to the candidates, because, and you know this as well as anyone, it's important to do your research. Everyone says that, but if you go look people up, you end up seeing their ads. And there are some very well-known candidates in this state, I won't say who they are, they might be running for governor, and they have great ads. Great ads. They have a great marketing team. But then there's times when you meet that person that you're like, who is this? This is not who that ad said it was. And I experienced that when I was in the state legislature. I served 16 years in the Alabama legislature, 8 years in the House, 8 years in the Senate. And I would meet people that I idolized, and then I was like, this guy's a rondom. What happened? He's like, warrior, fighter, I'll fight for you till the end. And that's what these kind of forums do, and that's what Out There in the Lobby does. You get to talk to people, you get to listen to them, you get to see if they really believe what they say in those ads. Because a lot of politicians are really good for 60 seconds. At the 63rd second, you realize they can't even spell Constitution, much less know what's in it. So I want to thank you for being here. I also want to thank the candidates for being willing to do this, because they realize how important it is, and they have respect for the people of Alabama, and they realize that this is their chance for people to see them. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank them, and I want to thank Focus on America for having me here today. We want to introduce our candidates, and these little summaries are compiled by who? Just them? So, wow, they did a really good job. Then I would still be in office if I'd got their help. Let's introduce our candidates. Our first candidate is Dave Thomas. Dave, come on out and I'll tell them about you as you come out. He served 2 terms as a state legislator from 1994 to 2002. After stepping away from politics in 2002, he began work as president of a family-owned business. Dave was elected mayor of Springville in 2020 and decided to put his hat in the governor's race with a platform set to emphasize freedom and liberty. Please welcome Dave Thomas. Next is Dean Odle. Dean believes Alabama needs a different kind of leader. He's lived in Alabama for 53 years. He is a pastor, author, educator, and historian. The tyrannical leadership that took place in 2020 motivated him to run for governor. He is tired of weak, fake Republicans and wants to ensure we keep Alabama free. Give a big hand for Dean Odle. After Dean, we have Donald Trent Jones. Donald's mission is to help make Alabama grateful again with an attitude of gratitude. He believes wellness, yoga, and mindfulness will propel this state. He believes if Donald Trump can be president, he can be governor, and you can be anything. Welcome, Donald Trent Jones. Kind of in the middle of our lineup is Tim James. Tim James is an entrepreneur and business leader with deep roots in Alabama. He believes this is a critical time in our nation, and we should ensure that family values are the foundation of the people of the state. He is the son of former Alabama Governor Fob James, and he believes it's time to fight back and protect Alabama. Welcome, Tim James. Next, we have Lou Burdett. Lou is running for governor because he believes our state is hungry for fresh, strong, proven, common sense leadership. He believes Alabama is hungry for a leader who has a career and experience in the real world, not just another lifetime politician. Lou states he is a fighter to do what is right to change Montgomery. Welcome, Lou Burdett. Last but not least is Lindy Blanchard. Lindy Blanchard's Alabama roots run deep. She came from humble beginnings, worked hard, received an education, created successful nonprofits, and acquired a U.S. ambassadorship. She believes every moment of her life has been leading up to this opportunity of serving and fighting for the people of Alabama. Welcome to Lindy Blanchard.
So, for the rules of this debate, each candidate will be given 2 minutes for opening and closing statements. We will have 6 questions that will be answered by all candidates. After one question has been answered, there will be quick lightning round questions that require a 1-word answer. Then the process repeats. If the candidates are judicious and efficient with their responses, there will be time for 1 additional question. Moderators are responsible for enforcing response time limits. Candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question. If an answer mentions a fellow candidate in their response, that mentioned candidate will be given the option of a 1-minute rebuttal. You are not allowed a rebuttal if another candidate does not mention your name. So many times, candidates say all the right things. They get elected, and they ride off into the Montgomery sunset to become a part of the good old boy network. We didn't come here tonight to go over your talking points. So we expect you to answer the questions as asked. Alabamians need this information to cast an informed vote.
Two quick things. One is, remember to turn on your mics, so you might want to check them. It won't even hurt my feelings if you say test or check or whatever.
They've already turned on.
All right, let's just go
Test.
down the road.
Got that?
Who was that? Check. Check.
Got that? Test.
Lou's good, Tim's good. Check, check.
Check, test.
Check. I think that's all.
Check.
Now we're all good. So we got that. And the other one is, when your time is up, your time is up. You're gonna fade away. Your mic is gonna fade away. So try to keep it in the timers. There'll be timers right down here for y'all to see. So, and now at this point in our program, Ed Ponatowski will lead us in the prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand for the prayer.
If you would join me in If you would join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together this evening. We come to you with open hands and open hearts, depending on your divine mercy for guidance, protection, strength, and wisdom. Lord, these are challenging times. We face tough choices and difficult situations every day. We know that without your grace, love, mercy, and protection, we would be lost. Lord, we thank you for bringing us these candidates for governor. Grant them wisdom and discernment as they seek public office, that they might serve in accordance with your will. As voters, grant us wisdom and discernment, that we may choose the candidate who will best represent us and our fellow citizens, while always doing what is right and just in your eyes. We ask this in the name of your Holy Son, Jesus. Amen. Amen. Would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ed.
We will now have the candidates give their 2-minute opening statements, starting from left to right. I mean, Lindy will start. To be fair, the closing statements will be in the opposite order, so everything will be fair. Lindy, you're free to go.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having me. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you to everyone out in the audience. So, hi, I'm Lindy Blanchard, and I'd love to be your next governor. I want you to know that I am the outsider in this race that has been able to do all three things, and this is what makes me unique. First of all, Johnny and I started our own business at the ripe age of 34, and that was not until after I graduated from college at age 32. So then after that, starting a small business, it really helps you learn the state, learn the federal regulations. Johnny and I had to supply paychecks to people and how to be thankful at the end of the month as a small business that you had $1.12 in your checkbook to the positive. So that was a learning experience. Then, after 12 years into our business, we decided to start a nonprofit, and that was after the death of our oldest son, Christopher, who succumbed to his addiction. And when that happened, we stepped away and made that decision a year later to begin that nonprofit. And that nonprofit still exists today. It's 17 years old. It's been helping children in the state of Alabama and across this world in 14 other countries. And so a lot of people ask me, how did you get the ambassadorship? Well, it was because of that nonprofit. So I was able to serve for President Donald J. Trump as ambassador, and that was a pinch me moment every day. And I'll tell you today, how this correlates with being your next governor, hopefully. So thank you so much for your...
Thank you, Lindy. Lou?
Thanks, Scott, Rebecca, Focus on America for hosting this debate tonight. You know, it's really disappointing that our current governor wouldn't be with us tonight. I now know how Tommy Battle felt in 2018 when she wouldn't debate him then. You know, I really feel like Alabamians deserve more respect than that. I mean, good grief, even Joe Biden would debate, right? You know, we have such critical issues facing this state. 52nd in math, 47th in education, 45th in healthcare, 43rd in crimes and prisons. Yet where we rank at the top, is in corruption. We're the 4th most politically corrupt state in America. That's heartbreaking. And why? Just follow the money, right? Just follow the money. Because we're one of 5 states, 5, that allows unlimited campaign contributions. Unlimited. That's wrong. We got to work for change. Last month, KIV received one donation, $750,000 from a DC PAC. We got to restore trust in Montgomery with a principled leader who will stand up to do what's right, that will work for change for all Alabamians. That's what I stand for. People tell me all across this state, Lou, we are so hungry for change. We're ready for change in this state. And as a true political outsider with common sense, business experience, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and go to work and make things better like I have a proven track record of doing my whole career. So thankful for my 13 years at Books A Million as Chief Operating Officer, knowing how to run big business. Running this state is big business, right? And 19 years at King's Home, helping abused youth and moms, kids find hope and opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lou. Tim?
It's good to be in Huntsville. I think this is twice in 3 days or something like that, right? Nothing like the Tennessee Valley. My mom was from Morgan County, from Decatur, so I know this area well. I grew up spending summers up here before this area grew like it is, fishing on the backwater of the Tennessee River with my uncle who was in Patton's 3rd Army. So this is a great place. You know, I was just rebriefing myself today on the military component in Huntsville. And we forget what's there, the Army Military Command, the Army Aviation Missile Command, the Department of Defense Missile Defense Agency, NASA, Marshall Flight Center. Tremendous firepower, military firepower, right here in Huntsville, Alabama. The problem is it will not protect us from what's threatening the nation. And we're under an assault from within. That's the attack. This Marxist movement that's had its eyesights on this nation for 50 years, they destroy a nation. That's their mission without a shot being fired. That is the defining moment of the hour. The tough issues that we're going to deal with, education, we'll talk about it. We're last, bottom of the barrel, if you can believe that. But we're in a cultural war for the soul of a nation. And if we do not win it, we could lose it for generations to come. This is a moment in a time that matters. This is about our children and our children's children. Thank you. It's good to be here today, and thank you everybody for coming, because this is the way it's supposed to work.
Thank you, Tim. Donald, go ahead.
Let me first start by saying thank you, Huntsville. This is an amazing city, and it's an honor to be here this evening with you. I am your yoga governor. I believe in yoga. I believe in mindfulness. I believe in self-actualization. I'm an entrepreneur, so naturally I believe that it takes a little bit of focus to create a business. It takes a little bit of stick-to-itiveness to create a business. And the amazing thing about yoga is it gives you that focus. It gives you that energy to do things like that. I grew up in Montevallo, and I graduated from the University of Montevallo with a degree in Spanish. Entonces me encanta hablar el español y me gusta muchísimo viajar a otros países. So I said I love speaking Spanish and I love going to other countries. And if anything, my travels have taught me is how amazing Alabama is. I grew up here. This is a special place. And if I can bring any good to this state, that's what I want to do. So elect me as your governor, and let's make Alabama grateful again.
Thank you, Don. Dean?
Well, my name is Dean Odell, and it's Odell like Yodel, so you'll remember that when you go to the polls in just a few days. I am a pastor in Opelika, Alabama. I grew up in Opelika. I've been in Alabama about 51 of the 54 years that I have lived in this world. I love Alabama. It was good to come home. I lived in Washington, D.C. before this, pastored a church there. But for 35 years, I've been a minister of the gospel. I've been a church planter. I've been an author, an educator. One of the things I think, though, that makes me different is that I have been a leader. I've been a patriot. And I've been studying the agenda that is facing us. And folks, I want to tell you right now, it's bigger than Marxism. It's bigger than the cultural war. We're in a war right now. Just today, I was studying and looking at the food processing plants that are being burned systematically across the world. We are under attack by a greater conspiracy and a greater plot than people can even imagine. And folks, we're going to have a governor in the days ahead, especially in the next few years, that understands where the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, and all of these different groups want to take us. Folks, I am the health care freedom candidate. I am the Alabama, Keep Alabama Free candidate, and that's because I am willing to do whatever is necessary. I am prepared to reinstitute the Alabama Defense Force. I am prepared to put forth and start a new militia. I am prepared to do whatever is necessary with the 10th Amendment and the doctrine of nullification spoken of by Madison and Jefferson to protect our state from rogue federal government that we have now. It's not just, again, it's not just Marxism. We have infiltrators in the camp, and it is our job as governors, as leaders, to protect each one of you, protect our state against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I want to tell you right now, as governor of Alabama, I will do whatever is necessary to keep us free from vaccine mandates or any other mandates. But we're going to keep Alabama free.
Thank you, Dean. Dave?
Thank you, Scott. Thank you all for being here this evening. It is wonderful, like everyone has said, to be here in Huntsville. And it is so important that you participate in this process. Myself, just to give you a little background, married 39 years, have 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and served a couple of terms in the legislature a lifetime ago. Was 29 years old from the quote-unquote wrong part of the county and a kid. I didn't think so at the time, but now that I'm approaching 57, 29 is rather young. Second youngest member in the House at that time. But after 2 terms, and one of which I served with Mr. Beeson here, and he can attest to some of the work that we did, some heavy lifting in Montgomery, trying to hold people accountable and hold their feet to the fire. But after a couple of terms, I got out of politics and decided it was best to focus on my family and my businesses. So started a new business, and 20 years later, we're empty nesters, and businesses are fine, and felt the call and the urge to get back into public office, into public service. And so ran as mayor and have been serving as mayor of Springville for the last couple of years. And when it came time to look at who's running for governor, it appeared, now there are some exceptions to the rule, I will grant you that, but we still have nonetheless our career politicians and those who are beholden to special interests. And I'm just an ordinary man who's been given extraordinary opportunities. And I'm seeking another extraordinary opportunity to serve as your governor. And as your governor, we will do just amazing, extraordinary things. because I've got the proven leadership and the skills to get things done in Montgomery. There's no substitute for experience. And with that, I'd like to ask for your vote. It's time, Alabama. Dave Thomas, thank you.
I'd like to remind the timekeepers of the time, and when it's up, it is up. So just remember, candidates, get in what you have to say, and the time is up. And I say that in a nice, sweet little southern voice. You're done.
Very lovely. Thank you, Dave. Dave, since you're warmed up, I'm going to let you start with the first question. We'll work our way backwards, and we'll kind of just go back and forth. We are hopefully on the downhill side of the recent COVID pandemic, as some people call it. Given the Ivey administration's debacles in the past 2 years of COVID mandates, restrictions, and loss of liberties, it has been the most challenging time for Americans in decades, perhaps longer. We cannot live in the past other than to complain and learn lessons for our future. A three-part question, so you may want to jot some of these down. One will be, what did you learn from the COVID pandemic and what we went through here in the state of Alabama? Two, as governor, what will you change to prevent the mistakes of the past? And three, what will you do to prevent loss of personal freedoms in the future? You can take a second, Dave, before you get started. Gather your thoughts.
What was number two again? As governor, change
As governor, what will you change to prevent the mistakes of the past?
All right.
And y'all don't cut him off till his 2 minutes or
Until we begin.
restart.
All right. Well, first, let me say I appreciate your comment about not living in the past and learning from the past, because one of the things that differentiates me from any other candidate running for this office is my approach and advocacy for cannabis, hemp, and bamboo. So, learning from the past, not living in the past. With regard to COVID, what we've learned, I guess quite frankly, the best thing, most illustrative thing that we've learned is our current governor does not embody our state's motto, we dare defend our rights. It was quite revealing. And so perhaps that's the silver lining in the COVID pandemic, this experience. Some folks have revealed themselves, their true nature and their true colors. And how slippery a slope it can be when tyranny is exercised, whether it be from Washington or Montgomery. An overreach is an overreach, regardless of its source. And so that we've learned that. As governor, what I would do to prevent that is stand in the gap, stand out front. You know, managers don't lead, they manage from the rear. You lead from the front and set the example of what it is to stand firm defending our rights, regardless of race, creed, color, origin. We're all Alabamians. We all should enjoy our freedoms and know that our governor will stand firm defending those freedoms. And lastly, loss of personal, what was that, property?
What would you do to prevent the loss of personal freedoms?
Personal freedoms. Well, again, just to make sure that the governor is held in check just as everybody else should be. I mean, the beauty of our system is checks and balances. If there's no check, there's no balance. And so as governor, I would be firmly standing in front, leading this state, defending our rights against any overreach, be it from the legislature or from Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Dean, you got all the questions?
Got them.
All right, let's go.
All right, first, what did we learn from the pandemic? Well, first thing that I learned is that we have a governor who is not afraid or either ignorant about violating the First Amendment. As the pastor of a church, when she decided to shut down our businesses, churches, and schools, I knew immediately that was violating my First Amendment rights. There are Supreme Court cases that say we do not lose our rights even in the midst of a crisis. I don't care if it's a pandemic or a war. We've got to get back to give me liberty or give me death. We've got to get back to being Americans. I learned also that our governor and our leaders here in the state, from the state health director on down to even our lieutenant governor and others, did not look to the true experts like Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Harvey Risch of Yale, Dr. Didier Raoult of France. They didn't look and see that there were effective treatments, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, these effective treatments that were saving thousands of lives And they just either ignored them, they were either ignorant or they were playing politics. And because of that, thousands of people died. That can never be allowed to happen again. And even now, the legislature did not pass SB 312 that would have made those treatments available to us, and doctors would not be punished. And they failed us, folks. They let it die in committee. And since we had the last debate in Hoover just about a month and a half ago, we've lost 2,500 people from COVID-19. That is unacceptable. It can never happen again, and we can't let it happen again. What would I change? One of the first things I would change is the state health department is pretty much a private organization. A group of doctors appoints a state health director, and there's really no accountability. That position, the state health director, must be changed to an appointment by the governor, confirmed by the Senate, and the governor has to have the power to fire that individual if they go crazy wanting to quarantine us or put us in quarantine camps. That has to be stopped. And what I'll do to prevent the loss of freedom is just stand on our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and not let them take it away.
Thank you, Dean. Donald?
First of all, I'd like to say that I believe in limited government. I don't believe that the government should really have a say in my health concerns. That being said, I also believe that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I think as far as health concerns go, it's more important to focus on the preventative measures to never even get to that state. As far as what would I do to prevent this from happening in the future, I wouldn't really create any kind of mandate to stop it in the future. I would just encourage folks to take their own health in their own hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Tim?
The pastor was right, and I'm going what he said, so I'm not going to repeat that. But this is the way I saw it, and after time has passed, continue to believe this. This pandemic hit in the first quarter of 2020, scared the heebie-jeebies out of everybody. We didn't know if it was the bubonic plague or what. But by the end of the year, it was very clear that it was a pandemic. It was serious, but it was not that. But government kept compressing, threatening, and then all of a sudden UAB puts out a mandate in early 21 that says, look, if you work at UAB, get the vaccine or you're fired. You know, they're talking to doctors, nurses, orderlies, people that work in a hospital. And a hospital is the front line. And I was standing back watching all this drama at the time. And I couldn't believe my ears. Because to threaten Alabama citizens, this is what they were saying. If you don't take this vaccine and shoot this stuff in your veins, we're going to bankrupt you. You can't feed your families. You can't buy or sell. You know what that is? That's the spirit of Antichrist. Now don't say James came to Huntsville and said it's the mark of the beast. That's not what I'm saying. It's a spirit. It is a controlling spirit under the yoke of fear. If you see fit to make me governor of this state, I can promise you this will not happen. And we will not live in a spirit of fear in this state. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Lou?
Well, the first thing that we learned is mandates don't work, right? That's certainly that was the first lesson from COVID. The other thing that we learned is how quickly we can lose our freedoms, right? With fear and control. That's a big lesson that we have to learn from this experience, because it won't be the last time, will it? It won't be the last time that fear and control is used as a tactic to take away our freedoms. We must always stand for freedom in this country, and we certainly learn that mandates don't work. You know, my dad owned a small-town grocery store. I'm a staunch defender of small business. 87% of small business was hurt during the pandemic. Many of them will never reopen. King's Home, where I've worked for the last 19 years, we have 3 thrift stores, and they were shut down, called non-essential. Called non-essential when we're trying to put food and shelter for about 125 abused youth, women, and children at King's Home. That was wrong, 100% wrong. We have to stand for freedom. Masking our kids was wrong. That's a parent's decision. Churches should have never been closed. Those are all things that we learned from this pandemic, that together we must stand up for what is right in Alabama. We must stand up for our freedoms and how important that is. And to shame the unvaccinated for choices that they made, I was appalled. I was appalled that we would come to that point where we would shame the unvaccinated in this state for choices that they would make. Medical choices should be free as well, right? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee.
Well, I'm going to have to say I agree with the gentleman, but I do want you to know that I'm a no COVID mandate candidate. I served in a country that was former socialist. I expected that country to shut down. I expected them to shut down their whole borders. I did not expect this state, this conservative state that had conservative governors all around that kept their state open, not to follow their lead, because Ivy had great examples. And I just want you to know, when she shut down the churches, she shut down the businesses, and she shut down schools, and she masked everyone, she also allowed abortion clinics to stay open. And I have found that out in this campaign trail. I am a mom that has adopted. I believe in adoption over abortion. And I also believe in our personal freedoms. Personal freedoms as parents to make that decision for our children, and personal freedoms for ourselves. I have 2 children that chose not to get the vaccine, so it was, as a no COVID mandate candidate and a personal choice candidate, I had to agree with them because that's how I stand and that's how I believe. And I will be, as your governor, hopefully in the future, the first line of defense against federal overreach. If they say this is what you do and it goes against Alabama values and we dare defend our rights, I will stand up and be that first line of defense for you, the voters, on any federal overreach. What was frightening as well, these businesses did not have the opportunity after COVID to have a step up. Governor Ivey and this state could have given tax reliefs in that area. So I thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Lindy.
Okay, just a reminder, when we ask you a question, what you would do, please answer what you would do, not just what happened, okay? So with that, next we are going to have a, it's stuck. So borrowing from Alan Ludden's, and I have no idea who this is, they wrote this for me. So borrowing from Alan Ludden's game of password going way back to 1961, we will have the first of 6 lightning rounds. For each lightning round section, one candidate will be randomly picked and asked several simple questions, and it requires a 1-word answer. That means yes, no, 1 word. No more, no Southern Baptist, 1 word. Okay? So, I can say that because so anyway, it's 1 word. And for the audience, the candidates will receive a copy of these questions after the debate, so that if they want to expand on it at another time or out in the lobby or on their platforms, they will be able to do that. But this is a simple yes or no question. Okay, let me tell you how we got these. We sent it out to our members. We wanted to say these people are running for candidate. These they're running for governor. What do you want to know? We chose a few that are going to be the same for everybody. We have 2 that will be particular to the candidate, and we took a vote and took the most popular items. So with that, that's how we came up with the questions.
Hey, Rebecca, is maybe one word?
It's one word.
I would advise it, but still, it is one word.
Okay, so like I said, these questions originated from our members. They were the most frequently asked. Nothing personal, but these are your questions. Each lightning round will include the 2 candidate-specific questions and several common ones that will be asked to all candidates. Are there any questions? Practice your yes or no.
Yes.
No. Okay. So for the first lightning round, we'll start with, drum roll please. Good job. Tim James. Okay. So do you, and as governor, will you support bills like this session's SB 312 and HB 31?
Yo. No. You're not going to explain it?
No. We're just wanting to say.
I don't know the number.
Okay. If, God forbid, you had to drop out of the race, who would you vote for?
Say again.
If, God forbid, you had to drop out of the race, who would you vote for?
Beeson.
Are you aware of the Montgomery Pig List?
What?
Montgomery Pig List.
Yes.
Do you believe the COVID-19 vaccine is beneficial?
Maybe.
Are you a different arm of the political establishment?
Yes.
Do you or your company still profit from toll roads in Alabama?
No.
As governor, would you remove unconstitutional regulations and permits involving oil and gas exploration, production, and transportation?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. James. So, in Alabama, we have to read news to find out what Florida is doing when we should be leading the nation. A very important topic for Alabama is K through 12 education. It's been widely claimed that Common Core doesn't exist in Alabama. The most recent contradictory example is the passing of the Numeracy Act, costing taxpayers over $90 million to instruct teachers on how to teach math. There are 3 specific areas of great concern for their parents: Common Core, mask mandates, critical race theory, or its new name, social emotional learning. Please summarize how you will address these issues as governor. We will start with Lou Burdett.
Well, education's got to be number one. Number one, not this year, not next year, but until we get it right? And you mentioned Florida. We have a wonderful template right there in Florida. First thing Governor DeSantis did was take out Common Core, beefed up school choice, real school choice, where parents could really make a choice. And I believe in a child's educational savings account, whatever you want to call it, that follows the child throughout their career in education. And that was the first 3 things he did when he was, first 2 things he did when he was governor. And they went from 26 to 3rd. So it's not that hard, is it? We take out Common Core. We have school choice that makes sense, and it doesn't have all this junk attached to it. Those are the first 2 things that we have to do. Then we have to have literacy programs that work, real literacy programs that work. Kids have to be able to read. Dual enrollment is so important to advancing education throughout this state. The schools that have it are excelling, and so are their kids. They're preparing kids for further education, whether it's a four-year school or great careers, high-paying jobs in the vocational areas. Those are the kinds of common sense approaches to education where we can make immediate changes. Get out of 52nd in math. How in the world can we be 52nd in math? You know, we used to could say, thank God for Mississippi, but they're not 52nd in math, we are. How heartbreaking is that in our educational system? You know, we got to, oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr.
You know, Common Core, critical race theory, all these things, they didn't just come out of nowhere. They're by design, they're intentional, and the intention is to undermine the nation, and the target is always our children. You know, I was having a conversation just a few hours ago with a wonderful lady who knows this better than anybody, and we were just talking about Common Core, and I asked this question just so I really got it. I said, if you have two classes, and one has Common Core, and one does not, and it's the same demographic, same everything, why is it that the one that has Common Core is failing miserably, and the other is not? And the answer is Common Core is cognitive dissonance. It's how they teach. They teach things that are out of order. There's no right answer. No absolutes. No absolutes. This is by design. And so they're failing miserably, and everybody on this panel knows where we stand. How do you go from 39th in reading and 28th in math, a little over a decade ago, to the bottom of the barrel? This is how you do it. All of this junk needs to be totally removed. The $80 million they want to hire 22-year-old teachers in the Numeracy Act to train 44-year-old teachers that have been doing it 25 years to teach them how to teach math is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. Think about it. Imagine if your 42-year-old daughter is being lectured by a 22-year-old kid right out of Auburn or Alabama or Huntsville or UAH. It's crazy. Everything's crazy. We've lost our balance. We got to get it back. Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Well, I encourage that we bring a little balance back to the classroom with yoga. I think it's important to create an environment that helps children learn, that helps them to feel comfortable in their bodies. Sitting in these chairs like this, it creates a tension on your body that makes it difficult to learn, difficult for behavior issues. So I created a yoga program, Yoga to MAGA, MAGA to Yoga. And this curriculum teaches students, K through 12, the ins and outs of yoga. And it does so through their teacher. So this is an opportunity for them to move, for them to move about the classroom and to have a different sensation, a different environment. And this creates an opportunity for focus, this creates an opportunity for increased learning. This program is government approved, and we hope to implement it through 4-H. There's far-reaching effects of yoga, and the least of which is help with focus, concentration, and behavioral issues. I think that would be an improvement upon the Alabama schools. My sister, she's a teacher. She's always talking about the different discipline problems that she has in her classroom, and she's even started doing some of these light yoga postures with her students.
So, you didn't answer the question. Common Core, mask mandates, and critical race theory. How is yoga going to get rid of critical race theory
That's a
and Common Core?
You're holding my feet to the fire. Those things are definitely an issue, and I would have
That was the question.
I would have to create a panel to help me distinguish better how to go about that.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, now I want to state something here for the record. I've been in the race, declared my candidacy with the Secretary of State on August 4th, 2020. I talked about it first in April of 2020 when the mandates hit, when the vaccine mandates hit and all that hit. I have to bring up Lou's name because this is a political move. One of my first campaign commercials about how Florida got rid of Common Core and they greatly expanded their school choice programs to make 56% of their state eligible, and they went from 29th, actually, you got the number wrong, 29th to 3rd in just 4 years. I heard him out there talking to the news agency, basically giving my speech points. And that's what a politician does. And I told Lou, I said, you become a politician. This right here, what I'm about, what I'm different about, is I want total and complete school choice. A no strings attached school voucher program where we give the parents a sizable voucher out of the $11,000 to $12,000 we spend per child and let them choose the school they want. No strings attached. No strings attached from the state government or the federal government. When we do that, we create free market competition. The good schools get better. The bad schools begin to go away. We don't subsidize failure anymore. And I'll tell you what will happen. In a state that's 86% Christian, that's the Pew Research poll, you're going to see parents take their children and their vouchers to schools that have their values. They're not going to have critical race theory or social emotional learning or this other garbage, all this other stuff, or mask mandates. Parents will be able to choose. And if a school decides to go down that road, parents can take their school voucher and go to another school, and that school will suffer the economic problem of their decisions. And that's what we must do, because in America we believe in freedom and free markets. And where I'm different, I want to get the state completely out of education because they have failed.
Mr. Thomas.
I have a rebuttal since my name was called out.
You have a rebuttal. At the end, after
Gotcha.
we finish everybody. That way, if you get multiple rebuttals, you can just address them all. Okay. So, Dave Thomas.
Yes, thank you. And I meant to bring this up at the very beginning. I appreciate very much you were encouraging us to stay on, or not talking points, but answer the questions with real answers, and that was a genuine, real answer, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you. So as governor, yes, strip Common Core, get rid of it once and for all. The Numeracy Act, I mean, it's one thing to put tutors in a classroom, but if we don't address the real source of the problem, that is our institutions of higher learning, then we're only putting a Band-Aid on the solution, or on the problem rather. So we've got to address that, but the Numeracy Act is quite ridiculous in my opinion. It shouldn't be necessary, shouldn't be. Unfortunately it is because of mistakes that have been made with regard to Common Core, CRT and the others. Mask mandates, there will be no mandates from my administration. We are free to make our choices, and as it's been alluded to a couple of times here, free to make our own medical choices amongst others. So part of my administration would include real, as you said, real school choice, but also real education reform. I'm not sure that I can do it in 30 seconds, but by the time a student finishes the 8th grade, we have a pretty good idea of what their academic record and trajectory is. If they're college bound, by all means, let's keep them on the college prep course. But if they're not, let's stop trying to teach them how to write a thesis paper and teach them how to earn a solid living, a skilled trade. And by starting in the 9th grade, that's 4 years potential to learn and hit the ground running when they graduate, have greater opportunities to support themselves and a family, not asking would they like a soft drink and fries with that order. We're doing a very great disservice and harm to ourselves by not giving those opportunities to our students. So with real school choice, you would have that opportunity to take those funds, private school, public school, charter school, homeschool. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
So we all know that Common Core is the common denominator of our schools failing. So I would get rid of Common Core. On masking, we also know that masking has delayed the education process of our children, not only through in class and the learning process, but also their freedoms. their freedom to go to school, not only masking at school, but going to school. CRT, SEL, anything called any other name, trying to indoctrinate our children into brainwashing them to think that someone's child. So I have a multiracial family, and I would not want one of my children to come home and think that their sister was the oppressor and they were being oppressed. So I take issue with that. Numeracy Act, that just drops my jaw. To hire teachers, to teach teachers how to teach Common Core math. Now, I'm a mathematician, and that doesn't make sense to me. We have to have common sense as parents. We're talking about school choice a lot up here. I want to say parent choice. Give the parents the choice and take it out of these education bureaucrats, and a lot of people call them the educrats, and give it back to the parents. School choice and following the money, let's be sure that money, that state money, doesn't go to a school that has what we just found out, the LGBTQ, or say a Colin Kaepernick type person decides they're going to start a kneeling school only and they're not going to stand up for the flag. So there is some accountability on following the student, but I will say that I'm a total believer in parent choice. I've educated 7 children in this state, and we've run the gamut of all types of education, so I will be that student choice, parent choice.
Thank you, Ms. Just a reminder to the timekeepers that Lou Burdette has 1 minute for his rebuttal from Mr. Odom.
Yeah, so my response is I follow Governor DeSantis pretty closely in Florida and what he stands for. I don't follow Dean Odom, so if he has a commercial that I haven't seen, I'm sorry I haven't seen your commercial. I don't know if anybody else here has seen his commercial, nor do I follow your campaign particularly closely. So, we've been in a lot of these gubernatorial forums. These are all things that we've shared at each one of them. I don't even remember, Dean, you sharing that statistic from Governor DeSantis.
Oh, I have many
before,
times, and you've heard the speech.
So, this
Look,
is...
I'll get out of the way, and you fellas can settle this right now.
But I think Governor DeSantis does a great job in Florida. People ask me all the time, is there a template that you would follow? And I say, of course there is. We got it right next door. He does a great job, and I hope he runs for president in 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Burdette. And just a reminder, this is not WWE in Huntsville. But you do have a rebuttal from Okay, next, Scott will be handling the next lightning round.
This is the next lightning round, and remember, some of the questions in these lightning rounds are common to everyone, and a couple that have been chosen by people that aren't us are directly to the candidates. So we're going to start, this lightning round is for Dean Odom, 1-word answers. 1 word. Except for the one I think is going to have to be the name. I think it was designed to be which other candidate, but
Oh, yeah, well, that's still 1 word.
that's okay,
You don't have to
yeah.
name
No
it.
worries, no worries. So for Dean Odom, let's get started. You ready?
All right.
Timer's going. Dean, do you believe that you play the victim card?
No.
If God forbid you had to drop out of the race, who would you vote for?
That's classified.
Did you, and as governor, will you support bills like this session's SB 312 and HB 31?
Absolutely.
Do you believe all aspects of NASA are credible?
No.
As governor, would you remove unconstitutional regulations and permits involving oil and gas exploration, production, and transportation?
100%.
Do you believe the COVID-19 vaccine is beneficial?
No.
Are you aware of the Montgomery pick list?
Yes.
Thank you.